Nike called me and said, look, you just beat everybody we paid to run that event. We're going to give you this Nike contract, pay for whatever college you want to go to. And that was a win-win for me. I still got to go to college for free. And I was getting paid for something that at that time I didn't love, but it loved me.
Hi, I'm Tia Minzoni, survivor, serial entrepreneur, CEO, and co-owner of luxury private jet company Stella Jets, and the host of the Fight to Fly show. Not every battle has a success story, but every true success story has a battle. And on the Fight to Fly show, I sit down with guests who have fought the most incredible battles and overcome extraordinary challenges to become high achievers, with a goal of sharing the lessons, strategies, and processes they learned along the way so that you can overcome the challenges holding you back and reach that next level high achieving lifestyle. Expect to be entertained, inspired, and motivated to break down the barriers to your success through the lessons and life experiences of our incredible guests every week. Are you ready to give your dreams wings? Get ready for your Fight to Fly. Hey, welcome to the Fight or Flight show. We're here today with Lashawn Merritt, 4-time gold medalist, and a ton of other awards too that people always just mention the gold medals, but you do so many other things, from inspirational speaking to speed camps. You have a foundation. And when I was doing my research, I saw just a string of awards, and I'm like, everybody only mentions the golds. Like, they all count, right? They're all part of this story. So very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And looking forward to really motivating some of our listeners and just sharing your story. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, all the way from Virginia to Texas, right?
All the way from Virginia. Virginia's for lovers. And there's love in Texas also. So
yeah,
it feels like home.
Yeah, we love things like steak. No, I'm just kidding.
Cowboys.
Yeah, and not I-35 in case you haven't got that yet. So you have to do a little bit more driving for that. Well, thanks for coming. I want to talk about your story. I think you have a very intriguing story. There's a lot of times where we hear stories about, I came from nothing and then, I achieved all these high achieving things. And I think those are great stories to tell. It's actually my story as well.
Okay.
But I think there's also a story that's not told often enough, where a lot of people are born into, good, average, middle class or lower middle class homes, and they persevere to make sure that they achieve above average, right? They don't stick with the I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm happy, and so this is where I'm going to stay. And I think you have one of those stories. You started really early.
I did.
As a high achiever. So tell us how you got into track and how you became so successful in track and field.
Okay. Hello, community. I'm Lashawn Merritt. I grew up playing baseball and football, but I was always the fastest guy on the team, and I was fortunate enough to have great home training when I'm talking about respect and just knowing that character mattered. I got that from my mom and my dad, great upbringing. But in elementary school, I had a mentor. He was my baseball and football coach. And his wife was my third grade teacher. So the whole childhood was me handling business, being accountable, being a leader for the football and the baseball team. My mom was the football parent who would pick up all the kids or bring snacks or whatever. So I was that guy who mom was always around, who couldn't get in any trouble.
Yeah.
It wasn't until high school that I noticed or found the sport. I didn't watch track before. I didn't even know track was a thing. And in high school, I started running, and I was playing football, and I was in the band. And my junior year, my football coach, who was a track coach, came to me and needed somebody to run the 400. Now, the 400 is the discipline in track and field that people say is the hardest discipline. So he fussed and cussed us out because nobody wanted to run it. And I said, man, I'll run it. And I started running it. And it came natural to me. I was winning and I wasn't training that much. I had not even known anything about that discipline. My junior year, I got invited to a Olympic development camp out in San Diego. They took the best high schoolers, like the 50 best high schoolers, to maybe it was 3 weeks of just teaching us everything. And I was fortunate enough to attend that. I didn't have the funds to attend that. I didn't have a lot of funds growing up. I had people that believed in me and helped me travel. They bought me spikes. They knew I was a standout, so they wanted me to look good so I could feel good. And track and field is one of those sports where no matter where you're from, if you run a certain time, it goes up on the board nationwide. So even if you're from the smallest city, if you run a time, everybody in the nation will be able to see it. So I was at the top of that board, but never traveled to any of the major competitions because we lacked the funding. And I never had a team. It was only like 3 people on the team. So the school wasn't paying for us to travel anywhere. So after my junior year, I came back my senior year, and everything I learned over those 3 weeks in San Diego, I applied, I drilled them in. My senior year, I was the best in the world. I won everything from my districts to nationals, junior nationals, world juniors. My senior year was the first time I got to travel overseas. I went to Grosseto, Italy to the Junior Olympics, and I came back with 3 gold medals.
That's awesome.
As a youth, yeah. So the world saw something then, and now it's college time. It's time to go to college. And my big thing was my mom and dad had taken care of me all my life. So I said, you know what? There's no way I'm gonna put myself in a position to let them pay for my college. And I'm getting a full scholarship to East Carolina. Now, East Carolina is only 3 hours away from my house, not a powerhouse school. There were several powerhouses that wanted me to come to their school, but my brother passed away before I started running track. His freshman year in college, he went to Shaw University, which was about 3 hours from where I lived, and he got murdered his freshman year. So, and never got a chance to see me run. So when it became time for my track scholarship, I didn't want to go too far. So I went 3 hours away from home. I went to East Carolina. I got there, I started running well, and it was probably my 4th or 5th competition. I got invited to run against all professionals. I was a freshman, and I won. I ran the 2nd fastest time in history. About 2 months later, not even 2 months, I'll say a month later, Nike called me and said, look, you just beat everybody we paid to run that event. So we're gonna pay you, we're gonna give you this Nike contract, pay for whatever college you wanna go to, but you have to give up your college eligibility. And that was a win-win for me. I still got to go to college for free, and I was getting paid for something that at that time I didn't love, but it loved me. Yeah. You know, I hopped in it, and in 3 years I was able to turn pro. So the sport found me. Yeah. And after I turned pro, it was history. I took it as an adult. I took it as business, and I ended up winning a couple Olympic gold medals, world championships, undefeated seasons. I was able to influence a lot of people. My light shined a lot brighter than I thought it was going to, and I had a 17-year career.
That's amazing. Yeah. I think it's also amazing that you learned from, the camps and the places that you went. A lot of times we're met with opportunities when we're young, especially when we're teenagers, and we don't recognize that opportunity and we don't apply it to our life. And if we do apply it to our athletic career, it's only through, high school or college. And then we don't carry that. So I love your story in that, one, you were smart enough, to really apply all the lessons that you had learned from these people. You made the most of the opportunities you had. But I think what I also love is that you also take these same lessons and you're now handing them down to the next generation and applying them to your own life. So if, I know you talk to a lot of businesses and students and young athletes. What's like the one thing, I know this is hard, I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't prepare you for this question. No problem. But what would be the one thing, if you could say this one thing, if you can just do this one discipline, because I know you have a ton of disciplines that you practice all the time. If you can prepare in this one way with this one discipline, you're going to persevere. What would that be? The
one discipline I would say would have to be repetition. Things require you paying attention to them and looking at it and refining it over and over and over again. And I feel like the only way you can fine tune certain things is if you do it over and over. In the sport of track and field, we have muscle memory. I mean, muscle memory and everything. But in that sport, we run and we do drills and we do things over and over, never sloppy. When I see kids do things sloppy, you're practicing how you're going to perform. So don't practice sloppy, and it's the repetition. The repetition in the muscle memory, but after the sport, I learned that the repetition here, you go through these things over and over and you learn through the repetition. And there's a lot that come out of it. You have the discipline that you have, the accountability that you actually see by seeing things. So I would say the repetition, but also watching yourself. And that requires knowing what you need to do. You go out there and you run or whatever you do in life, you have to know if it's wrong or right. So the reps get you ready to execute. It gets you ready to execute, and things become muscle memory and become second nature.
Yeah, so I think that's a great one. And it counts for everything, not just sports, right? So when we're practicing speaking engagements, you and I both do keynote speaking. So I need to practice that word there.
Nobody's perfect. We're all still learning.
But, in life as a whole, I think that's great advice, not only for athletics, but, just as a whole in business, doing any sort of presentation, I always have to practice it several times. So I think that's great. So tell me about the foundation. I know you have a big heart and you want to give back. And I'm sure a lot of that comes from the people that gave to you to help your career happen. I love the speed camp. So I'm going to tell you, just take you to a little personal story here. I have a grandson who's 15.
Okay.
And he has this love for basketball. Okay. And he says, Mimi, I'm going to be a professional basketball one player one day. And I say, that's great. Go practice. And he's like, I'm going to play my video games instead, right? So
that's this generation. Generation.
I'm like, man. You can be, but you got to look. You look at what Kobe did. Like, you have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. So I love that you said that. And he's the first person that I'm going to force to watch this and listen to that. But I love that you also do speed camps and you have a foundation and you talk to kids as a whole. Like my grandson, I can be the most inspirational and motivational person to everyone in the world. But if you share my DNA, they're not going to listen to me whatsoever, right?
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. They even said Jesus wasn't a prophet in his own town, right? So absolutely. I think because it takes us some time to develop who we are and develop our story. And there's lessons that we learn along the path. And there's people who knew us before we learned those lessons, right? And all of us grow at different rates. And so you have people who are growing at a different speed than you are, right? And I've got a gold medal in growth, right? I grow really, really fast. And I'm proud of it. And I'm glad that I do. But I also know not everybody grows at the same speed. It doesn't make one better or one worse. But I think a lot of times the people that knew us before we achieved growth can't even see us in that growth because they just see us as who they knew. And it took us, I'm sure it took you envisioning being in this place. You saw the growth that you can have, but not everybody has that same vision. So I think it's that they know us and they knew us. Okay. And so, it's a little harder for them to see the growth sometimes. That's what I think. But I'm interviewing you now.
No, I agree. I agree. But with me, it's with the foundation, like I said, I've been fortunate enough to have great people around me from a small age. Started with my parents, the coaches, family, friends, and sometimes it only takes somebody telling somebody they're capable of doing something. Giving somebody a little piece of hope, or inspiring somebody, or being there when they need you. Mm-hmm. And for me, where I'm from, not only where I'm from, I notice just in the world today, there's a lot of inner city kids that lack resources, lack hope, lack father figures, lack focus, they don't understand delayed gratification these days. And in my sport, I live it. I would have to start training in November and I wouldn't compete until May. So all that time just training, nobody seeing it. I have to do the same thing over and over, and I didn't mind. That's how I knew I was meant for that sport. And we just want to empower kids. Scholarships, resources. The biggest thing is hope. You give somebody a little piece of hope, it can go a long way.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It really is.
Yeah, and I've learned the more I give, the more the universe will protect me and give back to me. So right now it's all about giving. I've been retired for 2 years. I had a time where I dealt with a sort of identity crisis. The sport, I saw it as a job. I took it as like a job. I never dreamed about being an Olympic champion or best in the world. That stuff never fulfilled me. I didn't think about Olympics until I was training for it. I didn't think about world record until I was right there. I never thought too far ahead. I never let myself get too high or low when I won or when I was injured. I kind of stayed and said, you know what? This is life. There's ups and downs. I just have to stay positive, keep the faith, and keep doing the work. So I push a lot of that to the kids, the character.
Yeah.
Like the character has put me in rooms I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
And you just have to continue to do the work. You can have all the faith you want, but without the work,
right.
I don't know how far you're going to get.
I think that's a great message. And a lot of times, especially with youth, we think whatever's happening or whatever emotion we have at that point in time, that it's going to last forever. Right. So I love that you said that you really, you knew who you were and you stayed at your center, and highs and lows came, but it never took you from center. And gosh, to master that is like, that's life. That's true peace. Yeah. So I hope I will be doing anything I can to help you spread that message, because gosh, that is so great to teach youngsters.
And I think just continuing to be happy through whatever process you do. And I was able to not be so stressed because I didn't get it from my parents. My parents weren't athletes. Mm-hmm. So they weren't like, oh, you need to be doing this. Or They didn't know times. They didn't know what I was doing. As long as I was having fun, they were satisfied. And I found fun through enjoying the process. I'm a process guy. Through the process, I had these Olympic goals, world championship. It happens, people see it, but I was ready to get back into the process. And in that process, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen in competition either. Yeah. But if you prepare well in the process, it makes you more comfortable when it's time to line up. And I look like track and field, there's no helmet. You can't hide. You're going to be exposed. You strip down and you run around, right? And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to be out there, be exposed in front of all those people, and you don't know the outcome. But all the thing you can do is trust the preparation. And if you fall in love with the preparation, when it's time to execute, you just have to go out and know you prepared. And you have these butterflies. Over the years, I learned that even the best in the world get butterflies. Mm-hmm. But I learned how to channel those butterflies. They're flying all around, and I could close my eyes and think about my preparation. And I'll actually start to line those butterflies up. Like, this is preparation. This workout here, I did go every day. I ate this, I did that. And those butterflies start to line up in my stomach. And that fear or that anxiety kind of goes away. Because, and I'm the top butterfly. I'm in the front. So everything's preparation and lines up.
I love it.
And I feel good after that.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to execute.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. So with your speed camps, you do those, are you doing those at high schools, or tell me about those?
So the first one I did through my foundation. I raised money and I did it for free for the kids. Now I still do some free with the kids. I try to raise money through the foundation to pay for those camps. But in some areas, I do partnership with Nike. So Nike handle the back end, they handle the marketing, they handle everything. And I go out and get a couple coaches, tell them what I want them to do. We have the kids, we set them up on the track, and we teach them everything from angles to nutrition to strength and conditioning. My biggest part is here, talking to them and letting them know how important the 6 inches from ear to ear is, especially in this sport. It's everybody can be fast. I mean, you're fast, he's fast, but who's gonna lock in, hold themselves accountable, pay attention to the details, and when it's time to line up, know they prepared and own it. It's the only defense in the sport of track and field is quitting.
Right.
So you have to have this inner voice, this positive inner voice that says, I'm going to keep going. And if I'm not the best, it's all about constantly wanting to improve. And everybody's not going to be the best in the world in the sport. But I love the sport because, like I said, it's constantly improving and learning how to just be your best self.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't understand that the more people that you can learn from, the more points of view, the more experience, the more processes, the better you get.
Absolutely.
Right. So if you grow up and just have one coach at one thing, you miss out on so much. So I love these speed camps and agility camps. Are your speed camps for track only, or do you have people come in there that are football, like how you started out?
Yes, all sports.
All sports.
Speed can translate to have soccer players, football, tennis, all kind of people come out.
Love it.
And the parents understand the value in knowing how to run. Because you crawl, you walk, you can run, people think you can run, but it's so much more. It's about manipulating angles. And if you can manipulate the angles and run easier, you can run faster, longer, and you can run harder. It just makes time faster. And in anything you do, sports are becoming about speed these days.
Yeah.
Across the board. And I've learned it. I've lived it. I've been to the darkest places trying to get 1/10 of a second.
Yeah.
2/10 of a second. I've worked years and years to get 2/10 of a second. So the fine details that I had to go through, I have to pass that on.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be a coach right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to be at the track every day.
Right.
I don't have kids of my own or family of my own to pour into, but I feel like I have to pour what I know into these kids.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it.
I love it. I love it. I know I've said I love it like 100 times, but I am right there with you on this whole conversation. So in your speed camps, how many are you doing right now? And what's your goal for 2024? How many do you want to do?
Oh, man, I want to do as many as I can.
Yeah.
With Nike, I contacted, when Nike decided to partner with me, I called everybody in the sport that I knew who were coaches or agents or just still love the sport of track and field and said, look, I need to come to your area. I have a mission. I have a platform. I have laid out this agenda for 5 hours that can produce speed, not necessarily speed. It can produce character and get kids better all the way around. That's how I feel.
Awesome. Well, I hope we get you a bunch of speed camps this year, because all those kids need to hear your story and your lessons and your disciplines. And you're not just born fast. You can learn to be fast. Absolutely. And learn to be faster.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great message. So, we're here in Texas in South Lake, and I know a lot of the parents they hire outside coaches and trainers to help with agility and speed. And I think all of that's great. And I love that you can teach people how to be faster, but I also love that you can teach them disciplines that they'll take with them to college, which is huge, discipline in college, and through their career and through life. And I think that that's amazing. So thank you for all that you're doing. I really appreciate you pouring into all of our kids, because, the children are our future.
Absolutely.
And they get I think a lot of times they get a lot of, you can't do this and you can't do that. And not a lot of, or they get, you can do this, you can do whatever you want, but not a lot of how. Mm-hmm. Here's how you can do that. And so I just really appreciate that you're pouring into our kids and the next generation like that. And my last question is, how heavy are those gold medals that you have sitting in front of you?
So this one I have is Rio. Rio is kind of heavy.
Rio?
I got a gold.
Are there teeth marks in it?
Somebody may have tried to bite it. They definitely have dents in them, but that's when, everybody's not going to have dents in their medal. Everybody don't have more than one.
Oh, that's when they hit each other. That's how you know. Okay, I get it.
You must have more than one.
Yeah, nice.
So this one I have here is one I got from Rio, won the 4x4, and I got third in the 400 that year. And this was the special one for me. This was my first Olympic gold in the open 400. Now I say the 400 is known to be the hardest discipline in the sport.
Yeah.
So to be known as the number one in the world for the hardest discipline, it's a lot of work put into this. And when I got it, I knew it had just begun. The work had just begun when I got it. So outside of, like I said, I have several, but outside of the Olympic medals, the several world championship medals that gave me the ability to travel around the world 12 times over, meet great people, experience great things, build great relationships, inspire and motivate. I would do camps in all over Europe, all over Asia when they called me in for a competition. So I'm used to putting on these camps and being around these kids. So if I can take a little bit of that from what I've learned and apply it and spread it to the kids in the U.S., I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
It's amazing. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll have you on again soon.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe we'll follow you to some of those camps and share your message a little bit more. So
I'll have one here. So I just left the middle school and got some great info and some great contacts.
Good.
So we'll be looking to bring one here soon.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. We were just at an event for a middle school where my 4 oldest children went to school there.
Okay.
Yeah. Way back when, because I'm older now. I have grandkids in middle school and high school now. But, but yeah, we'll get you in some Texas schools for sure. They need to hear your message. So, all right. Well, thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Fight to Fly, and don't forget to subscribe for even more motivational content and lessons from high achievers. We love to hear your feedback, so be sure to comment and rank us below and tell us what you got out of today's show, be it a laugh or a lesson. And catch us next week on the Fight to Fly show.